Real Estate. I am your host, Dillon Bruno, and we are live on KCAA Radio, Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM and 106.5 FM, covering over 5 million households here in the greater Los Angeles area. KCAA is also affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are available in all of your podcasts, and you can watch our previous shows on demand in Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android app under Building Solid Foundations. My name is Dillon Bruno. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, you're probably wondering, who am I? Well, I'm just a guy that likes tools, and I want you to like tools just as much as me. Been in the trades for over 20 years, from trucking to installing solar panels to welding, and I always had a passion for DIY and home improvement, okay? I'd say about 7 years ago, I created a company called Caliber8, and it's dedicated to providing you or giving you the tools you need to do your DIY projects, home improvement projects with ease. I also have educational materials online, so that's what I do. I want you guys to get handy, and that's what I'm all about. We have a special guest, commercial realtor Ben Eubanks, to give us the scoop on what's going on in the industry. I'm going to hand it over to Ben. How you doing, Ben?
Doing well this morning. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. Glad to have you.
And so on our way here from Los Angeles, it took about an hour and a half to get here. We were discussing numerous things about our families, about our past, about how we got to where we are now. And the discussion was going to center around real estate. I'm a commercial practitioner, but the real big topic in real estate today, and we discussed it, is probably involving most people, whether they're in the market to buy or sell, is the end of the 6% commission structure. There was a recent settlement, it's actually still ongoing, between the National Association of Realtors, which is a 1 million-member organization. They have reached a settlement in a private lawsuit, which would require the National Association of Realtors to pay a settlement amount of $418 million over the course of the next 4 years. This was an attempt to address the situation about the industry has not been very forthright in disclosing the fact that in all real estate transactions, the selling party was being told that the commission for them to sell their property was 6%, which is true. However, it's negotiable, and it has always been negotiable. And apparently that fact of that negotiability has not been conveyed to the selling party to the extent that people were not sure about whether they were able to negotiate that 6% or not. So what happened as a result is that along the line of the listing agent, when the buyer's agent comes along, he's told that out of that 6%, he would earn 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is. If you start off with a 6% figure, the buyer's agent who brings the buyer, if the listing agent does not bring the buyer, there's another agent who is not a part of the listing agreement. He brings the buyer. That 6% would have to be divided between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Is that clear so far?
Yeah, that is clear so far. So I assume that's causing a lot of instability in the industry in terms of people not knowing exactly what's going on and how this will pan out.
And so what happened as a result of private parties taking both brokerages and the National Association of Realtors to court, they were able to prove that people were being misled or not being aware of the negotiability of that 6%, which starts the whole conversation, because later on down the road, if you have a buyer's agent, they're still going to want a part of that 6%. If that 6% is negotiable now and it's now 5%, and the parties know that, then they have a better opportunity to go negotiate that along with the purchase price and the other terms, the other conditions. But that's one of the starting, it's probably most the starting figure that the parties are involved in is what is that commission.
So now that the veil has been lifted, I guess the negotiating parties have a more clear road path to go down. It's more transparency in the process. Is that what I'm getting from you?
That's the word. And also it's more awareness. And if the public is aware that this 6% is negotiable, it's going to make for more competition among the agents. So it's a good thing I think it's a good thing in the long run for everyone, even though, according to the National Association of Realtors, 60,000 real estate practitioners, licensees, have gone out of the business, have left the business since the beginning of 2023. 60,000 have left the business. Now, that's not to say that there's a shortage of real estate agents, because there's not. There's actually a proliferation of agents. In California, for example, there are 202,000 plus real estate licensees. So there's no shortage of agents. However, you have about 20% of those agents that are actually doing 80% of the work. And the other 80% of the agents are left to scrounge around and struggle to get that 20% of the work. So most of the work is done by a small percentage of realtors.
Wow, it reminds me of that rule they call the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
I guess it applies across the board. So what does the future look like for that 80% scrounging for deals?
It looks good, because you're going to have some people leaving the industry that shouldn't have been in the industry anyway. These are the people who weren't doing transactions anyway. They might have at the most done one transaction a year, if that. There are much less transactions available compared to the amount of practitioners that there are. So I think it would be better. I think that this will weed out the non-competitive, the less than elite agents. I think it's going to be better public. I think it's going to be better for the real estate industry, the practitioners, and I think it's going to be better for the economy, because as we know, the affordability of housing all over the country is an issue now, especially in California, high property cost areas. Beverly Hills has some legislation calling for affordable housing in Beverly Hills, because I guess of the nannies, the people that service the mansion, the people that own the mansions and the estates, they need help, and they can have their employees, their landscapers, their gardeners, their nannies. They can come from wherever they come from, or they can live closer to the area, which is, I think, helpful to the community, to have people in the community from different income levels. It's better.
So it levels the playing field in a sense.
In a social sense, yes.
In a social sense, okay. And it's funny how that works across the board in life in general. How, I mentioned the Pareto rule, the 20%, 80%. If you want to call it a law of the universe, I don't want to get too metaphysical on you guys. Like you said, weeds out the non-productive elements out of the system to make it more efficient. So that's what to me, that's what I'm hearing. As someone who is not as well versed in real estate as you, that's what I'm getting from it. So that's great. We talked about something before we came on today that piqued my interest, a deal, or at least you had a hand in it, that you were participated in some years ago. It's called the Oceanwide Plaza deal or property. Tell us more about that, Ben.
Okay, so the Oceanwide Plaza, I'm sure that our listeners have heard of this on the news, or they've seen it on the news. They might not recognize the name Oceanwide Plaza, but they have seen this property on the news. It is a property that consists of two 26-floor skyscrapers and one 30-foot residential skyscraper right directly across the street from the Crypto Center downtown Los Angeles. This is the building that the base jumpers have been jumping off of. It's the building that is covered from the bottom to the top with graffiti.
Wow, I've seen that, yeah.
It's visible from all over. It's a eyesore, and because it's in such a prominent location, it's an eyesore. It's an image problem for the city of LA. The politicians have not figured out a way to reconcile this property. It's been sitting dormant for about 5 years. In that 5 years, the elements because the property has not been properly secured from the elements, the property has been subject to wind and corrosion and salt and all the elements that normal, a typical building that would be sheltered from these types of elements, it has not been sheltered. So there's deferred maintenance, there's mold, there's all these environmental issues that need to be remediated. I've heard it said from people that I've talked to that property is going to be impossible to remediate. And I have a hard time believing that, because this property cost $1 billion. There's already been $1 billion with a B put into this property to get it to the state that it is now. They just recently the city of LA paid $4 million just to secure it with fencing to prevent people from jumping off of it and from graffitiing it, which I don't think there's any other room to graffiti. I think all four sides have been graffitied. And this is a property that's, because of its size and its sheer magnitude, this property is being displayed all over the world. And now what kind of a image is that presenting
for the
city of LA? And the politicians have really no answer for the the problem, the property's in bankruptcy right now. The vendors, the contractors, the subcontractors want to be paid. They are owed something in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion just to get them back from where their arrearages are. So in other words, if a buyer was to come along, it would have to be a deep pocket buyer. They would have to deal with the contractors who are suing the previous owner, who is in bankruptcy right now. He has properties in San Francisco. He has one here. It's a Chinese foreign owner. It was financed through the EB-5, I believe, program, whereby a foreign investor from whatever country will offer to make an investment in a property in the United States in exchange for a visa. And if he pledges to employ 10 employees on site, I think that's what the qualifications are for a foreign investor to receive funds from the EB-5 program. It's a national program, federal program, and it's very successful in some regards. However, according to my understanding, and I've talked to several people downtown who know more about this than I do, because I'm not necessarily an expert on downtown Los Angeles. I want to cut off right there because I don't want to lose my train of thought. But the people that I've talked to, they say that something needs to be done soon rather than later, because the property's sitting dormant. It's been vacant. It's not serving any good purpose. And at the same time, you got thousands of homeless in that same environment that can't find a place to live, and you've got a dormant $1 billion plus property that's sitting dormant. Something's wrong with our priorities, our balance. There's something inharmonious about that product, the property itself, because you have it sitting there dormant, wasted. All this money's been put into it, and yet you have people scrounging around that can't find a place to live at night.
Yeah, it does make you question certain priorities. Ben, hold that thought, and we will have to take a break. And when we come back, we can continue our conversation about this. We'll talk more about that.